Lore Friendly episode 94 with myself and the wonderful Alice Bell. How are you doing, Alice?
Hello, 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 good day. I am overwhelmed.
Are you? Didn't you just say you were whelmed?
Whelmed and now overwhelmed
Okay.
because the amount of content that I've had to catch up on. I've been away from the computer for 2 days.
Yes.
The amount of shit that's come out over E3 weekend is mind-boggling.
Yes. In those 2 days, a lot of shit happened, and there's a lot to get to. So do we want to dive right in?
And is still happening.
Yes, it's happening as we speak.
We are recording as the Ubisoft conference is going off.
Oh, yes. Is that where you want to start, the Ubisoft conference?
No, because it hasn't finished yet.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll have finished by the time that we get to the end of the rest of the content.
Let's start with more important news. How are you? How is your life?
Same old, same old.
I care more about that than E3. I'm sure our listeners would agree.
Aww, guys.
Did you name your guinea pig? These are things I need to know
about. Yes, I did. I eventually decided to hold a Twitter poll.
Oh, okay. And the results?
And with 86% of the vote overwhelmingly went to Azura. Funnily enough. It's almost like you can't guess the target audience of my Twitter.
No, not at all, I guess.
So her full name is Azura von Zoomington II, and we are calling her Zoon for short.
Von Zoonington, where does that come from?
Because she zooms about a lot. Like every time you try to pick her up, she's like, weep, 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 weep.
She makes the noises too.
Yeah, she does. That's how a guinea pig sounds.
Have you voiced a guinea pig yet?
I mean, I feel like my vocal range can stretch that far.
Is it on your demo reel? Make sure to put that at the front of the demo reel, just so like people get the good stuff. Or maybe you want to put it at the end, just build up to it.
As a surprise.
Yes, it should be there. It should be there somewhere thereabouts, either the beginning or the end. Bookend pieces.
I feel like my guinea pig impression is really something that nobody else has, so
No.
I'd like somebody to go through the entirety of the reel and then just suddenly hear...
Of course, you also throw in the random caw in there as well. And it's just
caw, motherfucker.
So there you go. I'm surprised you didn't name your guinea pig Keanu, because that seems to be the thing. Keanu Reeves is everywhere.
He's taken the internet by storm. Before we get onto that, though, I feel like we should take note of Sony's absence from E3.
Why is that?
Just because Microsoft has had a conference that has blown everything out of the water. Like, they've announced some good shit, like Keanu Reeves. This was not the year for Sony to sit out.
Well, the thing is, they're going to release their own sort of hype shit. It's just going to be on their own terms, I'm assuming, right? They don't come to E3. They're like, well, we're going to have our own conference with, like, casinos and blackjack.
They're trying to do what Nintendo did. But I feel like the year where new consoles are being announced is not the year to do your own thing. You know?
The thing is, it allows you to have the last word, I would say. I don't know if their conference was before Microsoft originally or whatnot, but if you do your own conference, it will cost more money because you're going to have to, pay for everything, right? You're going to have to
host it.
Yeah. And what E3 does is kind of like streamline a lot of that. It's kind of like Steam. It has the platform there for you to sell your game already, and you don't have to worry about that shit. But doing it on your own terms has its own benefits because, like I said, you can have the last word. You can have it how you want, when you want, in the way you want. And I guess that's what more companies are doing. Just they want to release things on their own terms. And I don't know if that's the reason, but that would be my guess as far as why Sony would do something like that.
Well, they said that the main reason why they've done it is because they wanted to find a new way to connect with the audience.
That's pretty vague. That could mean a whole bunch of things.
Exactly. It just sounds very artsy-fartsy.
Telemarketing. Sony's conference is going to be them hiring telemarketers to call you at your house and read the trailers to you.
Hello, we heard that you'd been in an accident at work.
You know what would help with that? Video games.
Video games from Sony. Although they have announced that the PlayStation 5 is a thing that is happening.
Yes.
Speculated for release in 2020.
It's going to be fast, from what I understand, because they're both going to use both the Sony console and Project Scarlet are going to use solid state drives now, which PCs have been using for a while, but it's going to decrease load times because
it means that they can actually get 120 FPS. What?
One thing I did read was that the problem though is that HDMI cables may not be able to handle that. The current HDMI 2.0 cables. You need a TV that has an HDMI 2.1 outlet, and only 8K TVs have that at the moment. So
get on it, 4K.
Get a new TV. You're going to have to buy new TVs for your new console in 2020.
You know, just spend all that 2020 money. You know, because the world definitely won't have gone under by that point.
Well, that would be an incentive to spend it, because if the world was going under, then, you know, we
just
need some money.
Get into loads of debt.
Yeah, we're all going to die anyway. Might as well just play video games.
Yeah. Good philosophy there.
Yes. Speaking of a dystopian future, Cyberpunk. They had a new cinematic trailer, and at the end, I mean, the news that trumps all news. I mean, the trailer was awesome, but, you know, whatever compared to the end.
They've got Keanu Reeves on board.
Yes. Keanu Reeves shows up. He goes, "Wake up, samurai," or something to that effect. How do we feel about Keanu Reeves being in Cyberpunk?
Going from the cinematic trailer, there were some moments in it that were very Uncanny Valley.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think my body's quite prepared for Uncanny Valley Keanu Reeves.
Well, the next gen is the Uncanny Valley generation, I think. This generation of consoles, it's gonna be Uncanny Valley, like every game.
I mean, that's what it's been like for this gen as well.
Yeah.
It just gets progressively worse.
Yeah.
You know? It gets more unsettling the closer that we get.
So what you're saying is, if given the chance, you are not going to romance Uncanny Valley Keanu Reeves.
No, I'm not.
But it's Keanu. I mean, what if that's an option? It better be an
How
option.
old is Keanu Reeves now?
I don't know, 60? 6,000? He's basically a Time Lord.
He is immortal, isn't he?
Him and Paul Rudd basically got bit by the same vampire. Maybe they bit each other. Sounds kinky. Maybe they were in a romance with each other, but... Are we cool also with the idea of celebrities being more and more in games, like this kind of intersection of movies and gaming?
I feel like there's a time and a place for it.
Yeah.
I feel like you shouldn't be having to sell your game on big name actors.
Yeah.
So it's like a similar thing that happened with animated movies and things. I was watching this wonderful video essay on Aladdin the other day, and about how Robin Williams was basically exploited in it for his fame, and there was all sorts of legal drama around it and things like that. And because of Aladdin, you basically saw this trend coming of more and more celebrities and films being sold on the star power of the celebrities that were voice acting in it. And whilst in some ways, yeah, cool, gives the medium a bit more legitimacy by seeing traditional celebrities doing their part in it, it feels like a lot of more traditional voice actors and motion capture artists will be shafted into like B-grade movies sort of thing.
The thing is, I've never really had that much of a problem with A-list actors doing voice acting.
So long as they're alright at it.
Well, that, obviously, they need to be able to be good at it, because it's a different skill, right? I mean, we all know about Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage. He was a moon wizard.
But other than that, like, it's the immersion factor for me. Like, I don't have a problem when they do voice acting, because oftentimes the character they're portraying looks nothing like them.
Yeah.
But if, let's say in Oblivion, if the Emperor, if Euroseptum, looked like Patrick Stewart...
Oh, God.
Yeah, that would just be weird, wouldn't it?
Oh, that would be so unsettling. Now that you've mentioned it. Oh. Or if Martin Septon looked like Sean Bean.
Yeah. It's just, on the one hand, the skill of the actor matters, and I don't mind at all the voice being in there, but I think when you're portraying a character, you want them to look as much like the character as possible and not be distracted by who they are in real life. When I see Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk, I mean, I basically see Keanu Reeves. I mean, maybe as I'm playing the game, I'll see him more as the character he's portraying, but it's going to be really hard. I mean, there's some exceptions. When I watch John Wick, I see John Wick. I don't really see Keanu. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
There's certain exceptions where that works. And of course, there's like actors like Daniel Day-Lewis who never really look like themselves, right?
Yeah.
Gary Oldman might be another example. But
yeah,
there are the Tom Cruises, and Keanu Reeves in a way is kind of like a Tom Cruise. And so I'm kind of concerned that this is the way the gaming industry might be going, and that we're going to have these like A-list celebrities who not only voice the characters, but actually look like themselves. Like Norman Reedus is another example.
Yeah.
Like Death Stranding.
And Mads Mikkelsen.
Yes.
And basically all of the cast for Death Stranding are somewhat recognizable figures.
Yeah. And maybe that's a technological thing. Maybe that's with the mocap they have to look like themselves, but I don't know.
Well, Punish Snake didn't look anything like Kiefer Sutherland.
True.
So we know that they don't have to look like it.
Yeah.
I think in some cases it does work. Like, what was the game that Ellen Page was in?
That was a David Cage thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, David
Beyond
Cage
Two
game.
Souls or something.
That's the one. Yeah, I thought she worked well in that role, and I think she put on a good performance. It wouldn't have detracted from the game, you know?
I did resist the temptation to make a Last of Us joke, but
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't because I just said it, but yeah.
Well, that's the thing. That's what was more that was the thing that was most distracting about The Last of Us, was that they had already done preliminary rendering of Ellen Page's face, and whilst they did change it enough for them to not get sued for it, that was more distracting. Yeah.
It's pretty clear that was Ellen Page who they modeled the character type after. Yeah. We're not going to get into that rabbit hole now. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I'm really excited for Cyberpunk. Everybody's really excited for Cyberpunk, especially the fact that you can create your own character, which is kind of essential, I think, in a Cyberpunk game, because it's about like being able to...
it's based off of tabletop RPG. Yeah. The whole point of tabletop is to create your own character.
Right. But it fits the theme, I think, in general, in that Cyberpunk, in that kind of dystopia, in that kind of future, you're able to modify yourself in all kinds of different ways, right?
Yeah.
You should be able to change what your character looks like. So
yeah.
Don't worry, the guy on the cover, the Chad on the cover is not who you have to play as. You can play as whoever you want. That's just for marketing purposes. We get it's the same thing as with Mass Effect. You don't have to play as that guy with the bald head.
You don't have to play as the generic guy. You can be whoever you want.
We have a release date also, April of next year. Do you think we'll hit that target, or?
They have been working on it for years and years and years and years and years. And this is what we were saying about Death Stranding the last time that we were talking about Death Stranding, is whilst Death Stranding has kept us with drips and drabs and drips and drabs and drips and drabs and drips and drabs, and it's just gotten tiring, Cyberpunk's been more restrained. So I have more hype for it, even though they're being released in a similar time frame.
They probably should have went with something more conservative, and then... Well, I mean, I don't know how far they are along, but I worry about crunch just based on their history. I would have kind of liked something more like mid-2020 or something. Something more vague.
Yeah, couple more months.
Yeah, something more vague, and then...
Or summer. Just say summer instead of spring.
Exactly. If you feel like you can hit that deadline...
Without harming your employees?
Exactly. Then announce the date. I'm worried because just given their past history, I have no evidence to back up this worry, but they're concerned. But it's just I worry given their history with crunch. But yeah. I mean, we have a date. We can pre-order now. No season pass, which is interesting as well. But
announced so far.
Yeah, because the Witcher DLC was amazing, but I don't know whether to buy now or wait. I mean, there's no harm in waiting, so I might wait for a season pass thing to come up, but if there's not, I'm definitely gonna get the normal or whatever version is out. But yeah, so definitely something to pre-order. But any other thoughts on Cyberpunk, on the actual trailer?
I just need to get myself a decent PC, man. 2020 is the year.
It's gonna be pretty it's gonna be an amazing game. Yeah, it's gonna be intense. I kind of ready to go back to that particular genre. I mean, it's been a while. It's very 1980s, but it's just it's fun. It's a fun kind of world to dive into. So do we want to talk about Outer Worlds, or I mean, they didn't really show anything new, but
nah. Skip Outer Worlds. Elden Ring, aka the reason why Winds of Winter isn't going to be finished until yes, so it has been announced that George R.R. Martin has been working on constructing a new universe with, and I'm going to say the name, and then you're going to correct my pronunciation. Hidetaka Miyazaki.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Way.
Yeah, Hidetaka.
So he's the guy behind the Dark Souls world, and then we have George R.R. Martin, who is, of course, my Lord and Savior.
Yes.
The creator of the world of Ice and Fire.
My liege.
And this world looks a little bit sci-fi. Just going by the vocal effects, like it looks like a cross between fantasy and sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Just by the vocal effects from the voiceover on the trailer.
Interesting, because I didn't get that at all when I watched it. I thought it was a fantasy kind of...
I feel like it's going to be fantasy sci-fi because it's a genre that I believe both of them have dabbled in. I know that George R.R. Martin was quite well renowned for being a sci-fi writer.
And he's talked about in the past of wanting to get back to sci-fi.
Yeah.
And also the fact that Dark Souls, Demon Souls, those games are fantasy, straight fantasy.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that they'd want to venture into something different because that's what Miyazaki has done. He's gone from Dark Souls to Bloodborne, which was more
gothic.
Gothic, yeah. And then you have the samurai game, the Sekiro. I think that's also from Software, isn't it? Shadows Die Twice, which is ancient Japan, feudal Japan. And so the next genre that you would shift to, seemingly the popular genre would be sci-fi, right? But this has like Lord of the Rings kind of vibes because obviously there's a ring in the title. But yeah, I mean...
And there's a guy who looks like a dwarf.
Yeah. Watch the characters be named Randolph and Frogo. But yeah, a mix would be welcome. I don't want like something that's straight fantasy. I think there's enough of that. Yeah. Are you worried at all about the point of entry, the level of skill that you're going to need to play this game?
Oh, God, yeah.
Because that's what worries me about Front Software games. Is that I won't be able to play them.
I'm not a good gamer. This is the thing. I'm not. I enjoy games, but I'm not good at them.
That is my main concern as well. The thing I'm excited about is the RPG elements. They're saying that this is more RPG, more variety than Dark Souls, and that there's going to be character customization. Again, going back to Cyberpunk, this is something that we love, is character customization.
Who doesn't love character customization?
Exactly.
It's the best.
They're definitely turning it more into a game I want to play, and then anytime you have those names attached, it's enticing, but then, again, I worried that there's too steep a learning curve when it comes to these games.
Yeah.
And that's disappointing, I think. Because I've always wanted to play Dark Souls in those games, but it's just too hard.
It's like, I am so intrigued by the world behind Bloodborne, but I cannot for the life of me become a skillful enough player that I'd be able to actually play it, you know?
Yeah. It sucks.
So I just have to watch playthroughs because it's the only way that I'm ever going to be able to get into that world, which is sad.
No. Because there's people like us who are in it for the lore and the story. I mean, but we also want a game. We also want, like, gameplay. We don't want to watch a movie necessarily. But the gameplay has to be something that is feasible, I guess, for players who suck. There needs to be levels. There needs to be options. Easy mode for us so we can play it and enjoy it. I don't know. Yeah,
but then you have the elite gamers complaining that, they're not real gamers.
But they don't have to play it on easy mode. That's the thing. It's a choice.
It's a repeated complaint.
Yeah.
They're not
get
proper
good.
gamers if they're not... get good.
I want you to dumb it down for me. Without sacrificing the game itself. You know what I mean? Like, definitely don't make it with me in mind, with players like us in mind. Make it how you want it. It's your art. You get to do what you want. You know, it's not for us to decide how difficult your game should be. But once that game is complete and once your artistic vision and integrity is maintained, then maybe
dumb it down.
Then maybe kind of half the damage. Make an option that is fucking half damage, because there's easy ways to dumb it down, right?
Yeah.
You either build up the player's defense, you increase their attack, you lower the damage on enemies. There's ways to dumb it down, because as far as I know, there's still health bars, right? That's still something that exists, right, in these games. So that's an easy way to manipulate it after you've made the artistic game that you wanted. You know, it's just
make it more accessible, because we're pussies.
Yeah, there we go. Accessible. That's the word. It's just not accessible.
Yeah, please.
But yeah, are you going to play the game, or...
I just want him to get back to writing Winds of Winter, mate.
How much do you think his contribution has been, though? I mean, do you think he just wrote the mythos on a napkin, like just like a couple notes, and just said, "Here, don't fuck it up like D&D fucked up season 8"? But yeah. Or do you think he's like really into this, and this is what he's passionate about and spending all his time on?
He's so passionate about everything that he does. So I'd go with the latter.
Winds of Winter now delayed another 10 years, in other words.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right.
But that's another thing why I think that it's not going to be straight fantasy either.
Yeah.
Because if he did straight fantasy, it would immediately draw comparisons with his most famous work. You know?
It would indeed. Moving on, should we talk about the Bethesda conference or any of these other smaller trailers?
Yeah,
any trailers that caught your eye?
You lead the Bethesda.
Okay. So Bethesda had their E3 conference, and they announced 2 games that were made by ID and Arcane Studios, I believe. The first is Ghostwire Tokyo, which is a very spooky game where people just start vanishing, and it looks incredible. It also introduced us to a rising star of memes in the internet, Ikumi Nakamura, I believe.
Oh, she's happy. Oh, what a cutie.
And then we have Deathloop, which I'm not sure what it is exactly. Deathloop had a cinematic trailer that was impressive. Let's just say that. But the big news that relates to us and our viewers is that Fallout 76 has NPCs now.
Hey, finally.
I'm not sure how it's going to integrate them, if you need to finish the original main quest line first, or if they're just going to be there from the start.
Are they just going to slot them into the main quest?
I think the big news, though, is that they have dialogue, and they have a dialogue tree and dialogue options. So I'm assuming that would be in the kit as well, if the modding kit ever comes out, so that we could make mods for Fallout 76 now.
Well, the thing is that it's also going back to the old dialogue system, you know, the more traditional dialogue system, instead of having a voice protagonist, which makes it a lot easier for modders to play around with it as well, should they ever release a modding kit for it.
Yeah, because there's not going to be dialogue that's dictated by what the player can say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know when they're going to make the kit available, or if they ever are. But I mean, Todd has said that's something that he wants to do in previous interviews. So yeah, it's going to be something that I might want to take a look at in terms of just bringing quests and things that provide some balance, I guess, to the game, because the quests that are in there currently are just all based on picking up notes, picking up holotapes, and there's a vacuum of quests that involve NPCs and that kind of structure and sort of dynamic interaction with other characters. So because the characters that you interact with are basically real people, and that can be hit or miss.
Yeah.
You just run into some dude, bro, who starts screaming at you and starts like griefing you. It's not it's not fun. It's not immersive.
No.
Or you could run into Alice, and then it'll be like a good time, because Alice is always fun.
I mean, I'm
She's
always lovely.
Yes. You're not going to grief anyone, not at least on the first interaction.
I'm what is known as a sweetheart.
Yes. And speaking of additional possible modding options, Ubisoft also announced a story mode creator for Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
This is going to be fun. I don't think Ubisoft's ever really dived into the personalization realm, have they?
Yeah, it's something that I think all game studios should do, but it really comes down to how much of your game are you going to make available? How much of your source material are you going to let us play around with? Because Bethesda, one thing that they do that's amazing is they let us use all of it. We can look at the code. We could we could strip the voice files. We can strip the art from the game and mess around with the art.
Yeah.
We could do everything, basically. We basically have the tools that they have. Is that what we're going to get here, or is it going to be another red kit with The Witcher 2, which was like an abomination? I opened it, looked at it, and uninstalled it the next day.
Really?
It was so confusing. It was so non-user friendly. Like again, the point of entry, was just not there. This is like basically Dark Souls for modding.
Yeah. The other option, of course, is just in-game editing, like with Hitman series, where you can set up your own hits and side quests and things like that that can then be uploaded. So there's like 3 levels. There's the accessible creator kit level. There's the not so accessible, you are having to code level. And then there's the, oh, this is just inside the game, yay, Little Big Planet type thing.
Yeah. Or like Super Mario Maker, is that what it's called? There's like one.
Yeah.
There's like stuff like that where you can make levels and have fun with it.
Like level editors.
Yeah, exactly. This one does apparently let you create your own dialogue.
Ooh.
And it lets you, make quests using their system. The thing I'm unclear about is whether that dialogue is voiced. Maybe it's just unvoiced dialogue. The other thing I'm unclear about is whether the NPCs that you're involving in the quest, whether you can make new NPCs or you have to use the NPCs that are already in the game.
Yeah.
And that also complicates things because voicing is already done for both the player and the NPC in Assassin's Creed. So it's a little dicey, but
it might just end up being Morrowind style.
Yeah. But if it is a Fallout 4 scenario where everybody's voiced, but you can make new NPCs and you can have access to the player voice files and, cut them up and stuff and do like mix and mash, it's doable. And so it's kind of exciting on that front. So we'll see. We'll see how accessible it is. But it's definitely a step in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see how Ubisoft's first foray into it is.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I hope it's successful. Whether the kid is good or not, or whether it has what we want or not, I hope it's something that encourages them to
carry on.
Yeah. To make it more user-friendly if it's not user-friendly, to kind of make this a thing for all their games, because that would be nice. It would be nice if we could just mod every game that ever came out. If that was just a standard. Can you imagine that? It's just a standard part of every game.
That'd be amazing.
So I'm kind of excited for it. If nothing else, they've got my purchase. I bought the gold edition of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's on sale right now. It's 60% off. It's $40 on Uplay or Ubisoft Store, whatever that is. I generally would encourage people to buy the game from the developer store. I know everybody just wants it on Steam because for convenience, but I'm going to buy Cyberpunk from GOG.com. I bought Assassin's Creed off.
Well, it's good to encourage competition, isn't it?
Well, it's mostly because I want the money to go to the developers who made the game.
Yeah.
When you buy Cyberpunk off GOG, you're giving CD Projekt Red the money for distribution.
Maybe that would encourage Valve to start making games again.
Yeah, maybe. They might. I mean, they have announced new games for their VR system.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Half-Life 3 or anything, but yeah, who knows?
Well, the story of Half-Life 3 has already been ruined, so,
But yeah, a Portal game in VR would be interesting. I'd probably get motion sickness.
That'd be such a fun challenge, though. I'd love that.
But yeah, any other thoughts on what game were we talking about? Oh, Assassin's Creed. Odyssey. The story creator mode.
I just think it's going to be really fun. I can't wait to see what they do with it. And I think any engagement with the gaming community and a game's audience can only be a good thing.
You're going to have to work on your Greek accent.
Oh, God.
On voice things. Well, we first have to find out if there's voicing in it.
Yeah.
That matters a bit.
If not, I'm fine. If so, oh, buddy. Things are going to get offensive.
We'll just drop in a random person from Nottingham, just on a ship, travels to ancient Greece. Anything is possible.
It just requires practice. I'm working on my Irish accent at the minute for work, so there you go.
There you go. We can drop a random Irish person then into ancient Greece.
In a couple of months.
Do your Irish Socrates.
Oh, God. Well, first things first, Socrates is a dude.
True enough. So that's another thing you have to work on, voicing dudes.
Hello. Hello there. I am a man.
What's a famous Socrates quote?
An unexamined life is not worth living.
What accent was that? Because it sounded kind of British.
It was. It was just me trying to get to the right point in my voice where I could
you're trying to sound male.
I'm trying to sound like a man. A manly man.
Just gotta, do some method acting. Attach a pair of balls to yourself.
Doing are ya?
Yeah. Pretty much. But yeah, anything else from Ubisoft's conference that has just happened that we should probably Google?
Watch Dogs.
Oh, Watch Dogs Legion.
It's set in England. And honestly, this was the best trailers that I've seen of the day.
Oh, yeah?
Because of the accents. Why is the first guy who we're introduced with a lookalike for Phil Mitchell?
I don't know. Probably because I don't know what Phil Mitchell looks like. So
he is a dude from a very famous soap here in England called EastEnders.
Did he?
He is bald and he is Cockney. He did not know. And the best reveal from this was not only that you can play anyone in the world, basically, so long as you recruit them, but that you get to play as an old lady.
Oh, yes. I like that.
She seems cool as hell. I am very excited. I can't wait to play through the entire game refusing to swap characters.
That's the good kind of subverting expectation. Because I think, we mentioned Cyberpunk's cover, but, how many times do you even get to play as an old person, an elderly person? It's just very rare. It's kind of like when they have, like, an old guy as the protagonist in an anime or something. It's just, whoa, this guy's not 16 years old and sitting in a desk by the window.
Well, it's like, I'll be quite surprised to see... I'd like to see enemies reacting differently to the different characters. Mm-hmm. So maybe with the old lady, it'd be harder for her to raise suspicions. Mm-hmm. So it would take longer for her to go into combat.
Oh yeah, I think that would be a pretty dynamic way of doing it. There's games like that. I'm trying to think of one. Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yeah.
Where you can jump higher as Luigi. You can
You can float down as Princess Peach.
That's it. What did Toad do? Toad had a skill.
He could throw things up, I think.
There's also games like Trine where you can swap in real time, and then you actually need to in order to pass the level, but I don't think this would be like that. This would probably be more like GTA, where you kind of swap characters, and the characters, did they have different skill sets, or were they just basically
they had different skill sets. They had different skill sets and different abilities.
So there you go. It'll probably follow that.
Yeah, so I think
formula.
Franklin could basically do like a bullet time thing, and Trevor could go into a rage. So that sort of thing. So that's what I'm quite excited to do, and I'm quite excited to see just how the world changes as you play as the different characters.
The old lady just goes into rage mode whenever a kid steps on a lawn or something.
My god, yes. Something that intrigues me about the concept behind the game is that it's advertised as being set in a post-Brexit London, and the premise for the game is that it has been taken over by a fascist organisation. The government's in shambles, and it's like, I'm going to be living that in a couple of months anyway, so
too soon
I don't know if I can deal with my escapism being so polluted by contemporary politics as this. And it's like, I know that games have something to say when it comes to politics and making political statements and things like that, but it just stings a little too close to home at the minute.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that it is going to go down very well with... Well, there was the whole uproar that came out with the Far Cry. In Far Cry, you were taking down white people in churches.
Mm. Oh yeah, Far Cry is like a cult, right? It's a religious cult, basically. If you get to punch fucking neo-Nazis, I'm all for it. But Watch Dogs isn't that kind of game. It's more of a hacker stealth kind of thing, right? I'm sure you'd still be able to screw over neo-Nazis, and that's never a bad thing. Who's in favor of neo-Nazis?
I'm just interested to see what the reaction is going to be to the premise across the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just the fact that it's set up. It's just the fact that in the first line it was like, set in a post-Brexit London. It's like, oh god.
Yeah, there's gonna be people who, I mean, because they're invested in Brexit and they're very pro-Brexit, that they're going to say, hey,
well, how can this be a bad place?
It's going to basically be Disneyland.
Fucking liberal snowflakes.
Brexit sounds wonderful. That's my British accent.
It's getting better. Every time you do it, it gets better.
Does it?
Yes. Yes, it does.
But yeah, they're gonna be like, how is that a dystopia? It's gonna be the greatest thing ever, but it's not. No, you're wrong.
For that game, they're going to want to play We Happy Few. Yeah, I'm excited for that. I think Watch Dogs is gonna be fun. It looks good. I always like a game where you can character swap.
Yes. I'm more of a character customization, but imagine if you could do both. If you could customize and swap.
The dream.
Yes. There's always a tension with that, though, because you're writing a story, and the story, has to fit specific character types.
Yeah.
And if you let the player have too much freedom, it kind of gets hard to stick with that story. So there's a bit of a tug of war going on there between the story and giving the player freedom. I mean, it's basically the quintessential thing in gaming, quintessential conflict in gaming, where you're trying to give the player freedom to do what they want, but also trying to tell a tight, cohesive narrative. So
yeah.
I tend to lean toward the freedom side, but that's just me.
You just like to do your own thing, You're a maverick.
Yeah, if you want a tight, cohesive narrative, watch a movie, read a book. You know, it's like I want to have the freedom to be able to fuck up the story in any way I please, and make new stories just based on my actions. So, and then in that sense, the story has more weight because it's not contrived. It's not dictated by like this omniscient author who is basically dictating the ending. It's just the more freedom you have, the more a weight is applied to whatever story that gets ended up being told or whatever that ends up getting told. God, I'll fix that later. Whatever. English is my native language.
It's okay. You can edit it in post.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, anything else from Ubisoft?
I don't know. Have a quick Google, see what else has been announced.
Let's see. There's a trailer for Gods and Monsters, which sounds like a fun title. Looks kind of like a Zelda game, just based on the graphics.
Yeah, don't look that particularly intriguing, honestly. Looks like a mobile game.
Yeah.
It looks like an advert for a mobile game.
Yeah, it probably is a mobile game. Okay, let's skip that. Any interest in Final Fantasy VII Remake?
No, never watched it. Never played it. Apart from Chocobo Racing.
There is a new Tales game. Have you ever played that series?
Tales?
Has some nice visuals. It's an anime game, though. It's like those kind of characters. Weeaboo. Yeah, Japanese games always have these like amazing sort of worlds and landscapes. And
it's so beautiful. It's very imaginative.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's a lie. He just grabbed her boob.
He just reverse Azora Hired.
My takeaway from that trailer is that he grabbed her boob. Lol.
So we have Tales of Arise, or I don't know, Arise? Because I don't know if it's Arise or Japanese. But yeah, your takeaway is that he grabbed her boob.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
I like the landscapes.
Oh yeah, the landscapes look gorgeous.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's very imaginative. The cities always look gorgeous in Japanese RPGs. So I'm excited for that game. Another game I'm excited to play is Psychonauts 2. I mean, Double Fine.
Oh, that's one that's been waiting to come out for years and years and years, isn't it?
It's been bought out by Xbox, right? Or not Xbox, by Microsoft, right? The company.
Well, they announced, that was one of the ones that they announced, wasn't it? As part of the
so
Xbox
it's going to be exciting. Because Double Fine, they're an imaginative company. They're a good company. It's always just been a kind of like money and funding issue with them. Like they had to be on Kickstarter and all that. So just having the backing of Microsoft is really going to help, I think, with their games.
It could help, but it could also... That's the thing with getting picked up by a big publisher, is that it alters your vision. Like, that's what happened with We Happy Few. It started off as a crowdfunded game, and then publisher interference changed the direction of the game, and it ended up being released in an unfinished state and things. So it's
True.
a double-edged sword.
Who was the developer on that, though? Were they new, or, I mean, indie dev?
They were completely independent, yeah. And then they got picked up.
Yeah.
I think it was their first big release.
I think because of Double Fine's track record and just their success with prior games and just their history, that Microsoft might be a little bit more hands-off. Like, you know, you could trust, like, these people. I don't know, maybe trust them that they would finish the game on time, but trust them that their vision or their artistic vision is going to be solid.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But there's always conflicts, like financial conflicts, like you're talking about, like where they might stuff in microtransactions or stuff in things that they want to make a profit. So yeah, I mean, it is a double-edged sword in that case, but you know, we'll see. I'm still excited. I haven't played Psychonauts in so long. I just remember the feeling of really enjoying it and thinking, wow, this is unique and fun, and artistically just I liked the style that they use in those games.
It was so fun, wasn't it? It's a fun looking game. It's very unique. It ages well because it is so unique looking.
Another trailer that came out that looked intriguing was 12 Minutes for the Xbox. It's an indie game where you're stuck in a time loop, and
it's presumably a 12-minute long time loop.
Yeah, and it's something that's been done in movies, I think, in television probably.
Day.
Yeah, something that's more analogous. I think it's not that great of a movie, but I watched something with Jake Gyllenhaal. I think it was Source Code, I think, where the time loop was on a train and he had like only a set amount of time to stop a terrorist attack from happening, and then he kept, you know, replaying the events over and over until they actually caught the terrorist. But it's in that kind of vein where you have a set time limit to stop something disastrous from happening, and each time you go through the loop you learn a little bit more and a little bit more. So it's been done in movies and TV, but I don't think it's ever been done in gaming.
I just think this looks quite fun because it's obviously working with quite a limited set of assets.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really quite bare bones looking. I'm just interested to see what the actual gameplay is going to be.
I mean, I thought about it. It kind of probably would be something where you get multiple choices, and then you have to keep picking the right choice until you get to the end, you know? I mean, so gameplay-wise, I'm not sure it'll be all that fun, but the idea is a cool concept to try in a game, I think. Like, just the trailer intrigues me, as this is something new and unique. Even though it's not new and unique to other mediums, it's still something that seems fresh for games.
Yeah, when taken to an interactive perspective.
Yeah, because when you're watching a movie in a time loop, it's fun, but it's not you. You're not making these decisions, right? A game, that's the power of games. You get to be in that situation. So it's, I like that there's a game like this because it feels fresh and feels original.
I always get excited when I see a game that obviously is using limited assets and resources, because that sort of thing makes you require so much more creativity. It's like that's how Metal Gear Solid originally came about. Was the original Metal Gear? It was based on limited technology, where they couldn't have a bombastic shooter, so he designed the whole stealth mechanic, which launched an entire genre.
Yeah, sometimes it's better not to have
unlimited resources.
Yeah, unlimited resources or certain choices available to you that are staid or boring or repetitive, you know what I mean? Like the first-person shooter mechanic is something that is almost in every game nowadays, right? And to be stripped of that option, to not have that option, kind of forces you to make your game be creative and fun in other ways. So that's kind of exciting. Like anytime you say there's no guns or there's no shooting. Eleonora mentioned this last time, like Death Stranding, she didn't see a gun.
Yeah.
So maybe it's exciting in that sense, in that if there are no first-person shooter mechanics, that there's going to be something else that makes the gameplay fun. Unfortunately, in that trailer we watched, it wasn't that. It was just Norman Reedus doing like jump kicks and shit, hitting people in the box. That is not a creative option to not having a gun. That just seems lame. I don't know. Hopefully it's not that. Hopefully there's actual creative gameplay, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see where that goes. You know what it looks like? It looks like something that my computer could run.
Yeah. The worry is that it's multiple choice. I would hope that maybe it's a little bit more interactive, like point and click games from the early, I want to say 90s. Was it 80s or 90s? Like Indiana Jones, like those King's Quest, where it does require you to like walk around the room and like interact with different objects. Like it creates more choice, a more dynamic, I guess, way of playing the game than pick A, B, C, or D.
Yeah.
You know, because that seems boring. But if there was a way that the options could be almost limitless based on you could do A with object B during time frame C, you know what I mean? Just constantly create levels where it could be deeper and deeper and be more complex to where it becomes more difficult and the problem solving becomes more interesting.
Yeah.
Rather than just be straight dialogue choices, which are good too, but just more variety in general is better.
Yeah.
Because then you'd have a game. Then you'd have good gameplay.
Oh dear. But yeah. E3.
When does E3 end? Is it Thursday? Or, I mean, we could talk about it more next week, but there's just a lot of stuff that's coming out. But yeah.
Yeah, I thought that E3 was only a weekend thing, but clearly it's not because it's Monday.
Yeah, well, part of it could have been leaks, but I'm not sure. The trailers aren't leaks. Trailers are actually out, so who knows? Plus, everybody has their days now. Bethesda has their own conference. They have their BE3 every year. They have their own Discord, and Microsoft has their own thing. So it's just eventually it's going to be like a 40-day thing with 40 different companies releasing their.
Oh God, could you imagine the exhaustion?
Yeah, it is quite exhausting.
The actual fatigue.
But... the mental fatigue more than anything, because I'm still sitting in my chair, but I'm fucking tired because it's just constant mental fatigue.
It's knackering.
Plus, we like to complain, so even if we weren't fatigued, we'd still complain about being fatigued. It's just the way it is, you know.
Speaking of, I'm fatigued. Anything else that has been brought to your attention?
Did you want to talk about Black Mirror episode?
I think we should probably save it for next week, maybe.
All right. Yeah, so that's it for our E3 coverage.
Hopefully, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there might be more coming out. There probably will be more coming out.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, most of it has been just cinematic trailers, so a lot of these games are probably a ways away, so we might talk about them more when those actual trailers come out.
So, good evening, Chris.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye. Bye.